Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 8th level of Jumanji, August. Hello friends, my name is Lexi and welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm going to be talking to you all about the books that I plan to read in the month of August. August is one of the better months of the year because it's the last year of summer. And once summer dies, autumn is born and I can finally start living. For those of you who don't know, I sort of live for October and September. That is my peak. The rest is just kind of sad. But I'm really excited for this August because there are so many books that I really want to get to before the end of the summer. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in. So the 3 books that I have here are all adult and they are all a little bit spookier. And the reason for that is because one of my best friends here on BookTube, Liv from Olivia Reads a Latte, is co-hosting one of the coolest readathons I think I've ever heard of in my entire life. And it is called Summerween. And this readathon is for people like me who really desperately wish that it was October and we don't want to wait any longer. Liv is also hosting this with Gabby from Gabby Reads, and Gabby Reads I'm sure you have heard of because she's kind of like a thriller queen, so I binge her videos all of the time. I've picked out 3 spooky books because I do intend to participate in their readathon. It happens the last week of August. I think it's August 20th through the 26th. I don't exactly know how I'm going to fit these in yet, and I also know that I have to pick out a book that is recommended by the host, so I'm gonna kind of like ask Liv what she recommends and stuff later on. But for now, these are the 3 books that I am planning on reading around that time. The first one is called Catherine House, and this is by Elisabeth Thomas. This is like an adult version of Hogwarts, minus all of the magic, and it's a cult. So I don't know a lot about this other than the fact that it is like a prestigious and very hard to get into school. The people who graduate from Catherine House are very successful. They are presidents and CEOs and I think like famous actors and actresses. And Catherine House promises to make sure that you do great things in life. But in turn, if you get into Catherine House, you have to give them 3 years where you don't have any outside contact, I believe. And it turns out that things are darker and more sinister than people realize, and we learn all about what happens at Catherine House. This sounds really perfect for me because I love dark academia, and I have a really good feeling that I'm going to love this book. The next book I have here, I am very excited because it's also a pick from Kayla's book club. I think it's called the Literally Dead Book Club, and I have been really meaning to participate in one of her book club picks for a long time now, and that is Home Before Dark, and this is by Riley Sager. Turns out that I'm actually a huge fan of thrillers. Who knew? But I love thrillers, and so I really can't wait to read this, both for Summerween, but also for Kayla's book club. So Home Before Dark is kind of about a haunted house, which fits one of the prompts, I believe. A family goes to this haunted house, but they only stay there for about 30 days. They don't know that it's haunted. And when they leave, the father actually decides to write an entire book about his stay at this house. When he passes away, the house is actually left to the daughter, who decides to go there, fix it up, and then sell it so that she can kind of put it behind her. She doesn't really remember if anything in the book actually happened or if it was all made up, but when she goes to the house, weird things start to happen. And so we get to figure out what is actually happening with this haunted house. The next one that I have, I'm kind of obsessed with the cover, and I think I'm most excited to get to this one, and it is Mexican Gothic, and this is by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. So this follows Noemi, and Noemi's cousin has just married a mysterious man, and she starts to send her cousin letters saying that she is scared out of her mind for her life. And so Noemi decides to go and check out what's actually happening at this house with her cousin, and when she gets there, weird stuff starts happening, which sounds like a good time to read about, not to actually experience. I actually love Gothic literature. Kate Morton, in my mind, is incredible, and I've been meaning to get into more Gothic literature, so I think I'm going to absolutely love this. The next book that I want to talk about is The School for Good and Evil, and this is by Soman Chainani, and I am very excited because this is going to be Kaylin and I's book club pick for A Touch of Whimsy. I remember reading it years ago and loving it, so I'm really excited to do a read reread to see if my feelings on it have stayed the same or if I like it maybe less or more, but I remember loving it. So this is about Agatha and Sophie, and they are best friends. And Sophie wants to be kidnapped by the fabled master of the School for Good and Evil. And she wants to be taken off to this mythical school for the best and worst kids so that they can learn how to become either the princesses in their fairy tale or the villains. Agatha does not believe that this place really exists, but one night she and Sophie are both kidnapped and taken away to the school. However, when they are there, Sophie, who is desperate to want to become a princess in real life, actually is sent to the villain school, and Agatha, who wants nothing to do with being a princess, is then sent to the Princess Academy for the School of Good. I love it so much. It's kind of like a satire on fairy tales. I'm hoping to love it just as much the second time around. But yeah, that is our book club pick and the middle grade for the month. Next, I've got two YAs here. The first one is A Million Junes by Emily Henry. I have already started this one. I'm on page 86, and I have to say I'm absolutely loving this book so far. This is kind of like a Romeo and Juliet Shakespeare retelling. There's actually a lot of allusions and mentions of William Shakespeare, even within the first 80 pages or so, which I really love because I happen to love Shakespeare and Shakespeare's plays. And this is about June and August. So they both come from families who absolutely hate each other, and they believe that each family has cursed the other family. And so this is kind of an exploration of their love, but also of them trying to uncover what is really happening with their families and if there is a curse and what magic is involved. And I have to tell you, I'm really loving it so far. I have really high expectations and I think I'm gonna love it. So I'm excited to finish this. And then finally, I have 3 adult books to share with you today. So the first one is The Vanishing Half, and this is by Britt Bennett. I'm sure you've heard of this and you've seen it floating around. I feel like everyone is reading this and loving it, and I haven't seen anyone give it less than like a 5-star. So this actually follows 2 twin sisters, and both are Black, but they are white passing, and one of the sisters decides to live her life as a white woman, while the other sister decides to embrace her heritage and stay where she is and raise her daughter. And I believe that eventually both of these 2 lives collide, and we kind of see the fallout between what happens when they both re-meet later on, I'm pretty sure. So I think this is gonna have a lot of really important commentary, and I'm very interested to see the direction Britt Bennett goes in, but I've also just heard that this is really powerful, so I can't wait to read this. Next up is a book that I actually found from my friend Liv at Life with Liv. I actually found this on her Instagram. She has like one of the most beautiful Instagram feeds I've ever seen in my entire life, and that is Where the Crawdads Sing, and this is by Delia Owns. I know that this follows a marsh girl named Kaya Clark, and she lives in a very small southern town, I think on the coast of North Carolina, and she is accused of murdering a man in town because the marsh girls apparently all have a bit of magic in them. And so we're just kind of following what happened, did Kaya do it, and then we're learning all about her family history and the magic that they can or cannot produce. I think it's going to be really good. It is an adult contemporary, and I don't know, I have an odd feeling that I'm going to love this book. And finally, I have a reread of The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and this is by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I read this 2 years ago actually for the reading rush, right? Maybe, I don't know actually. Everything's a blur here on YouTube. But I'm actually picking this up because there is a new book club that I am very interested in participating in, and it is called the Late Night Book Club. And this is co-hosted by Elias, Joel, and Noelle. I first heard of this from Noelle's Instagram because I have a newfound obsession with her channel. I feel like a lot of people are also watching and loving her. I don't know where she came from, but I cannot get enough of her personality, of her vlogs, of her reading taste. It's just so much fun. And I absolutely love and am subscribed to the other 2 creators as well, Joel and Elias. So when I heard that they were doing this, I was like, okay, I will do a reread because I want to hang out with you guys. So for those of you who don't know, this is about Evelyn Hugo, who is a famous actress, and she is retelling her story to an unknown journalist. And we are learning all about the 7 husbands that she has had and the great loves of her life. And it's just an interesting character-driven story all about who Evelyn Hugo is. I remember absolutely loving this. I think this was a 5-star, so it'll be interesting to see if I still love this as much. I also think that Kayla Kaylin is going to be reading this for the first time, so we might do a little buddy read, and I think it's gonna be a good time. Okay, you guys, there you have it. Those are all of the books that I'm hoping to get to this August. I'm also kind of trying to wrap up a couple of secret TBRs that hopefully you guys will see in the fall, so I'm not totally sure if I'll be able to get to every single one of these books, but any book that I don't get to is going to carry on to September because I am desperate to read these. They all sound like so much fun. Let's cross your fingers that August is a good month and it is a good reading month. I think that it will be with all of the books I have here. But let me know if you've read any of these or what books that you are planning to read this August because I'm always curious and I love to know what you guys are reading. Okay, I think that's it for now though, you guys. So until next time, book lovers, keep your head in the clouds and your heart in a book, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye!
You know that I'ma keep it cool. With you I feel like breaking rules. On the edge, looking out with no parachute. You know I'm dreaming about us two, playing around without a clue. On the edge, leaning out. With us it's all or nothing.